Hey guys, welcome back. So we're excited. You can tell that we're super tired as well today because we did something really fun. If you guys haven't noticed, there's been something in the night sky. Yeah, what is it?
What is it, indeed?
Yeah, so you guys probably have noticed that everyone's been talking about it. It is the Neowise Comet. And it's awesome, and you can clearly see it. The Neowise Comet was actually discovered by the Neowise mission. What does it stand for again?
It stands for Near Earth Object.
Wide Infrared Survey Exploration.
Explorer or something.
Yeah, something like that. So we'll kind of describe it down here. But what it's supposed to do is supposed to look for all near-Earth objects, kind of look for Armageddon.
Yeah,
I think
like
so.
Like an Armageddon type scenario.
Yeah, but what's really cool is they found this new object, this comet that they never discovered before.
Right.
And it was discovered on March 27th, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah,
March 27th of this year.
Yeah, March 27th. And it was surprising because they were like, oh my god, this is coming through and it's going to be a nice bright object in the sky.
Right.
So we're super excited for it. So what they kind of discovered about it, we were like, let's go check it out. Let's go see if we can see it. I mean, we live in Kansas City. It's a relatively, decent sized city, so there's a lot of light pollution. So we were just trying to figure out what the best way to do it, and we kind of did a lot of trial and error. During that trial and error, we actually were able to not only find the comet in this night sky, but we were actually able to take a picture of it. Right. And I think that's important, and we actually had such a good time doing that. We actually want to share with you guys some of the tips and tricks that we use to be able to find it and also take pictures. So I think that would be pretty relevant. Right. I mean, is it kind of a one-in-a-lifetime event right now?
Yes.
I mean, the next time it will be back will be in
6,800 years.
I don't know about you guys. I would be dead by then.
I plan on living forever.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a one-in-a-lifetime event. So we did it, and we had good success. So we want to share our knowledge and success for you guys to do it because it's going to be around for a few more days.
A few more days for us to be able to see it with the naked eye.
Thank you. Yes, with the naked eye, you can still see it with the telescope. So
after that,
yeah, but it's visible until about July 23rd, and when it's at the closest to the Earth. So we've got a few days left. So we want to share this and we want to get this video out as soon as possible because we want you guys to be able to find the comet in the sky and do it as well.
Yes.
So without further ado, why don't we go into the tips and tricks on how we did it and how you can take a picture of it as well. So
first step.
Yep. So let's talk about that. Yeah. So first step is
location. So this is very important because you need to be able to figure out where you will be able to see this comet.
That's very true. Like we said a little bit earlier ago, we live in Kansas City and there's a lot of light pollution. And if you guys, a lot of you probably live in in areas where there's probably a lot of light as well too. And you should still be able to see the comet, but it's very faint in a very heavily light polluted area. Right. So for us to really kind of go and try to find a place to be able to see it, we really wanted to look for a place that didn't have a lot of light pollution. And what we did is we went to a website called lightpollutionmap.info. lightpollutionmap.info. It's actually a really cool website. It kind of tells us where and how heavy the light pollution is. I mean, take a look here. Like, we actually have it up. This is yeah. Well, that's also probably pretty light polluted there. But I mean, take a look. Like, take a look at the red dots here. Like, I mean, just take a look. There is a lot of light pollution in the area that we live in. You can see there's not very many spaces that we weren't, that's not light polluted where we live. But fortunately for us, we were able to find a spot.
That's not too far out of town. That was, I think, a level 3.
Yeah, correct. It was a level 3, which kind of equivalents to a nice night rural sky.
Right.
And it was actually pretty nice. It's not like super dark, but it's dark enough that we can see like large objects in the sky really easily.
Like I was able to make out Jupiter and Saturn in the night sky, which
I wasn't able to see that. Like David would always be like, "Hey, there it is." I'm like, "Where?"
Right.
But it really was dark enough. We were able to see the comet, which was amazing. And I don't even know how to even describe it, guys. To be able to see such a celestial object with your naked eye like that, it's amazing. It was just so bright. So make sure you guys find a location, use the website, look for where the light pollutions are at, and try to find a place where it can be as dark as possible. Like we said, we were only able to find a level 3. But if you live in an area where you can do like level 2 or level 1, I mean, perfect. Yeah, and you probably don't even need us to tell you this tip. You probably are able to see it. So, with that said, I think we need to go on to the next tip, right? So even though location is important, how are you going to find it, right? It's in the sky. So where
in the sky?
Yeah, correctly. Where in the sky is it? It's this bad boy. So it's actually visible about 2 times throughout the night. It depends on when you want to go and look for this comet. You can either go and look for it sunset, or before sunrise. Yeah, for us, we are kind of night owls, and we're not early risers, so it was easier for us to go and look for it during sunset. And the best time to see it is about 45 to an hour after sunset, when there's very visible light left, but enough to kind of still light up the sky, but you can clearly see it. And that's, of course, as the night goes by, it gets a little bit, the comet gets lighter, you can see it more clearly, but it also starts to dim as it kind of goes and goes down as well. So keep that in mind, that you got to see it's about an hour after sunset. So if you guys are going to find your location where you want to go, make sure you get to your location early and set up, because you don't want to be driving around right after sunset trying to find it and trying to find a spot to be able to look at the sky. And consider that.
Really dark.
yeah, especially if you go into some of the rural areas. But consider that when you also do it for sunrise too. Like sunrise, you have to get there about an hour or so before sunrise to be able to see it. So depending on where you guys are at in the northern hemisphere, just go and look it up on Google. I just typed in there and said, Google, what time is sunset for us? So yeah, but it was really cool. Once you're able to kind of determine the time frame, then you need to be able to find it in the sky. And for us, during sunset is actually in the northern western sky. So it was big, big, boom. So in those 2 areas is where we were able to find it. I mean, like I said, it's very visible once you get into like the rural area and the lighting is dark, you'll be able to see it by your naked eyes. But for us, we wanted to be extra sure because we were driving out there and we wanted to be able to find it. So we actually use an app to actually help us. I use Android, David used iOS. We both have 2 different apps, but for Android, I use something called a Skywalker 2. Not Luke Skywalker, but Skywalker 2 app. To get like the objects in the sky, it costs about like $4, I think. It's totally worth it though, but it allows you to really kind of use your phone, pull it up, and you can kind of see in the sky where it's supposed to be at. And it's very similar to the iOS one, right?
Yeah, so there's an app that I use called Star Guide, and it basically shows the same information, and it is an app that you pay for, so that you're able to see the objects in the sky. And not only does it show you the constellations, but it also gives you information of the comet as well.
Yeah, it's really cool. And one thing I thought the apps were really cool about was the augmented reality. Augmented reality was such a game changer for us to be able to use those apps to find the Neowise Comet. Because what happens is we turn on the augmented reality, it actually uses our front camera and it overlays the data onto the actual foreground of where you're at. And we were able to kind of determine during that time
to kind of where to point
on the horizon.
The camera.
Yeah. So and finally, you know, in speaking about the horizon, that's really also where it's important too. To be able to see this, you guys have to have an unobstructed view of the horizon. The comet in our pictures looks like it's pretty high in the sky, but it's actually very close to the horizon if you think about it. So when that comes into mind, you can't have stuff like trees
and buildings
that block your view of the horizon. If that happens, you won't be able to see it because there's only that little small area here, like here, I don't know, here. It's just, there's really not that much space. So you have to have a really good view of the sky and the horizon and have it unobstructed. That's the most important part, because you can look up the sky at the northwestern sky for as long as you want, but if your view is obstructed, you're not gonna find it, right. You're not gonna see anything. And actually, that's really where it's helpful for the app too, because the app will tell you if your trees are obstructing your view.
And if you don't want to download the app, you could try figuring out where the comet is on your own if you're familiar with the Big Dipper. And it is just a little under the Big Dipper.
Yeah, right? It's very close to it. The Big Dipper looks like boom, 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 boom. I think like this. I don't know, or like boom, 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 boom. I don't know. How many stars is there? 7, right? 7, right? So you know how like a dipper looks like? I don't know. Maybe I'll draw it here.
So it's like the bottom of the ladle.
Yeah.
Part, right?
Yeah, the very corner, and it's just really right below there. That is the best place to be able to find it. So if you don't want to spend money, use the app. The Big Dipper is a good place to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so anyway, all right, so on to the next tip on how to find this really cool object. Well, what y'all figure we're talking about? Which pick is this? Okay.
So the next step that you have to take into consideration is the weather. And that is something you can't quite control.
Unless you're in Back to the Future in 2015 and Back to the Future 2 where the weather service controls it. But yeah, David, you're absolutely right. That's actually a very
major factor.
Yeah, it's a variable. I mean, honestly, for us, what we did is, you know, we did through the steps that we kind of decided. We went through lightpollutionmap.info. We kind of found the spots that we wanted to go use, and then what we did is we kind of went to our favorite weather app. We use AccuWeather, but you can use any app that you use for weather to be able to find it.
Right.
Just go in there.
Like, do weather radar.
Yeah. Go in there, and in those particular apps or the websites, go to the hourly section of it, and it'll tell you by the hour how the sky looks like. For our area, it said that at around 8 o'clock, it was going to be clear. Clearly, it was not. I mean, the weather guys are still very bad at this. It was really overcast. I mean, take a look at this video that we kind of took of it as a journey. You know, like you can see it, right? Like it was very cloudy on our journey there.
I was a little concerned.
Yeah, I was too, because we were driving out of town, and we got to the spot that we want. You know, and we thought it was a really good area for us to take a picture of it, and it was still very cloudy. Fortunately for us, luck shined on us, and the area where the comet was happened to be the only clear area of the sky.
Yes.
It was so lucky. I mean, it really was. I mean, take a look at this picture again. Look at all the clouds in the area, and look how lucky we were to able to get the picture of the comet right in that spot. And you know,
it was amazing. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and you know,
we were also very lucky.
Yeah, so take that into consideration. So make sure that when you're looking at this, I know it sounds like a lot of work, but it's worth it. Mm-hmm. So you know, just kind of do your due diligence before you go out there. So these are really the 3 major tips to really go out there and find it and visualize it. But we got one final tip for you guys. This one's gonna be a long one because you have seen the pictures we've shown you now, and here's a little small clip of it that we were able to make. I mean, it's amazing to see in person, but I wanted to be able to memorialize this in a format I can, you know, enjoy later in the future. And I'm sure you guys want to do that too, right? So we're gonna tell you guys now how you guys can also take the photos as well. So without further ado, let's get into the technical portions of it. Yeah! Okay, so technical portion. This one's long, so hold on to your seatbelt. I'm gonna try to not go too far in depth on astrophotography, but give you just enough quick tips. And maybe what Dave and I can do on another video is we can go in depth and actually talk more about how to do astrophotography a little bit more. So anyway, without further ado, so one thing first is that we want to kind of emphasize that you need to be able to use a camera, preferably not a smartphone, something with a decent sized sensor on it. I mean, you don't have to go crazy. You don't need like a $5,000 camera, you know, like any camera that has a decent sized sensor that you can use manual mode to will work. And a couple other equipments that you need is you're going to really need a tripod and probably some weights. And I mentioned that is because when we were out there last night, it was windy. Yeah. And what the weight does, it will stabilize the tripod to make sure that it doesn't move around. So with that said, having a decent camera, having a decent sensor size camera really works. And the next thing is the lens. And I would have to say, like, a lot of people kind of talk about lenses and they want you to get a certain type, and I believe it's true. But you can honestly apply this concept to any lens that you have, because we know that not everybody has like expensive lenses. So I know I'm rambling on now about this. So anyway, so what you want is you want a wide angle lens so you can get a good picture of the landscape, and then you want a very fast lens. And when I say very fast lens, it means that it has a very high aperture, and it allows that to bring in more light at a time as the aperture increases. And that's usually when you look at your lens, it'll tell you like there's f1, f2, blah 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 blah. That's your f-stop. That's actually your aperture. So having the most fastest lens possible that you can use will work for this. So with that said, you get your camera, get your lens, get everything set up, put it on a tripod, and point it to the sky where it needs to shoot at. So what you need to do for the settings is, like I said, put your camera to manual, and the first thing we want to do is actually set our focus, and we want to set the focus to infinity. I know that sounds like it's pretty straightforward, but what infinity does is it allows you guys to focus far away objects, and what we're looking at is a far away object, right? So if you don't put it out to infinity, if you put it to like close or macro, it's going to be very blurry, and you're not going to be able to capture anything. So then the next thing on the settings is you want to turn your aperture, the f-stop, to as wide as possible. So our f-stop was a 1.7, so we turned it and cranked it up to 1.7. And then finally, you need to actually use your shutter speed and try to extend the shutter speed as long as possible, because what that allows the camera to do is to keep the shutter open as long as possible to collect as much as light into the sensor and have that much data as possible. So it gets a little technical about how long the shutter needs to be open, because with astrophotography, there's something called the 500 rule. And the reason we have the 500 rule is because, I mean, the Earth, it's
always moving.
Yeah, it's rotating. So the 500 rule is a really good rule to use. I mean, I don't think it's gospel, but it's a really good estimate on how far you can keep the shutter open before you get star streaks. So here's an example of what a star streaks looks like. I know it looks like it's jittery, but it's not because I was shaking the camera. It's because the Earth is rotating, and as you rotate, and an object like the star who is far away looks stationary, so you're getting this streak as you have the shutter speed open. So what the 500 rule really goes for is 500 divided by your focal length. So when you divide by the 500 by your focal length, will give you the amount of time that your shutter can open for before you start seeing these streaks in the sky. So and it also gets a little more technical, because for the camera we use a micro four thirds. We did an unboxing of the GH5 a couple of weeks ago. If you guys haven't seen that video yet, check out the video here, I don't know. I'll put a link right here somewhere. If it's not the link down there, it's going to be here at the in the comments or in the descriptions. But so with a crop factor, you also have to add that multiplier on there. So for the equation, to do the 500 rule is 500 divided by your focal length divided by your crop factor. So for us, a micro four third is a 2 times crop factor. So the equation that we use, or the final formula, is 500 divided by our focal length, which is 15, divided by our crop factor, which is 2. So 500 divided by focal length divided by the crop factor here. So what does that equal? I'm really bad at math, so I actually...
Right here now. Like you just edited it right here.
Yeah, so I'm very bad at it. I'm very bad at math. It comes down to about around maybe 16.6 seconds. So that means that for our camera, we can really keep the shutter open for about 16 seconds before we start seeing some star streaks. Like I said, it's not gospel. You are able to... There's some leeway, so I think we were able to push it up to about maybe 18 or 19 seconds, and we still were able to get really good shots. So that's really the settings you guys need. And finally, the most important part is high ISO. So for us, we used about 800 ISO. It really boosted the background and pulled in a lot more lighting in as much as possible. Of course, you know, don't boost your ISO as high as possible to bring in more light, because as you guys know, when we put in high ISOs, we get a lot of grain. But make sure you guys use a high ISO when you're taking a picture of this, so that way you're getting as much data as possible to be able to get it done. I mean, I think honestly the result speaks for itself. I mean, I'm so ecstatic about this that I'm gonna show again the pictures of all the stuff that we took, the montages. Take a look, guys. I mean, like we did a really great, I think it was amazing.
It was a really fun experience.
Yeah. I mean, these like especially these last tips here will really help you take the pictures. And I mean, honestly, guys, even if you don't take the picture, go out there and take a look at it. It's a one-in-a-lifetime event. It's amazing to be able to see that celestial object in the sky. I mean, it's a surreal experience. I mean, it's amazing. Go out and check it out, you know. And one thing I forgot to mention when we're talking about this is when you guys are going out there, be creative. Look for good locations. I mean, you know, have some fun with it. You know, like go out there. Like for us, we actually found a wind farm with a lot of wind turbines that we thought was a great backdrop. I mean, we were kind of little scared her for a minute because of all the overcast of the clouds. But even if we didn't capture the star, we actually got a really great sunset view of it too. So I mean, nature's amazing. So, but be creative, guys. So you know, like go out there, take a look. You know, figure out how you know, how you want to compose the video or compose the pictures. Do it in a way that you think is going to look good. But ultimately, do it in a way that you're going to be able to enjoy this beautiful view in the future. So, anyway, guys, the video's gone long enough. I'm rambling at this point now. So, let us know if you took these tips and you used it and you were able to find it in the sky. Yeah. You know, leave us a comment. It's also only available, you also can only see in the Northern Hemisphere. I know we mentioned that, but we want to be clear. So you're in the Southern Hemisphere, you're probably not going to see it. Though. Right. But leave us a comment anyway if you're from Australia or New Zealand or any of those places.
Antarctica.
Yeah. But yeah, let us know if the tips were helpful for you guys. We had a really good time doing that, and we actually had a really good time making this video because it was so fun and amazing, and we just wanted to share this with you guys. So hit that like button, subscribe, leave us a comment, and tell us how everything went. I honestly can't wait to hear about it. And if you have a social media that you guys are posting, I want to see your pictures. So put it in the comments too of your Instagram. My Instagram's down there too, so follow us. And we will see you guys next time. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Bye.